Okay.
We will, in another 10 seconds, we'll be recording. That was the recording. All right, so this is being live streamed. So we're good to go there. 6:58. I'll give it another minute, then I'll hit start webinar.
Okay.
I'll make a couple announcements as people are joining in, and then I'll start us. I'll share. I'm going to share that slide deck now. Can you still see me okay?
Yes.
Okay. And when you share, don't forget to hit those two little boxes. Yeah. And you know what? If things go awry, technically, we'll recover and apologize. That's all.
Right. I would say everybody's been there at one point or another, so
people are used to it. Yeah. When it hits 6:59 on my computer screen, I'll hit start webinar.
Okay, that sounds good.
And then I'll watch people as they come in. Okay, I'm going to hit it, and we're going. Hi, folks. We're going to wait another minute or two, and then we'll get started. Thanks for joining us tonight, and welcome. All right, I've got 7:01, so let's get started. My name is Bob Cohen, and I am a SCORE mentor. I want to welcome you tonight to our presentation. Jim Lichtenberg is standing by with me, and he's going to be talking to you about ways for you to optimize your costs and improve your cash flow. First, I'd like to go through, as many of you who have been on these calls before, I'd like to go through some slides, a little bit about SCORE. It's a good opportunity for us to tell you who we are and how we work and things that you can take advantage of from our resources. So I will do that. So you should be looking at the SCORE Cleveland logo up there. As we go through this, I will monitor the chat and the Q&A, some of which I will answer just directly to you, and other I'll hold good questions or all questions to the end, and we will let Jim answer those in pretty much the order of the queue that you send them in. So we'll stay on until we answer all the questions that you might have. So SCORE Cleveland is, if you don't know already, if you haven't had a chance to work with us, we're the largest network of free volunteers for small businesses in the country. Now we've got some 10,000 volunteers, and we are an all-volunteer organization in some 240 chapters across the country. And the SCORE Cleveland is one chapter, and we've got somewhere around 90 volunteers that work with small businesses, both from a startup perspective as well as those of you who are already in business and are in the process of trying to grow your business. So our mission is really to foster small, vibrant business communities through mentoring and education. Mentoring a lot of times takes one-on-one mentoring. It might be sometimes 2 or 3 people working with one client or a small company, sometimes as a small board of advisors that we may actually help on a regular basis with any particular client's business. And then also certainly the workshops. We do almost 150 workshops a year, and we help small businesses to help drive the economy. That's right now job creation, building wealth, helping small communities, helping the communities that we all live in. It's critical to growing the economy in the U.S. So in 2022, SCORE was instrumental in starting 500 businesses, creating over 800 jobs, and providing services to clients, basically almost 7,500, actually a little bit more than 7,500. We are in 7 counties across Northeast Ohio. Of course, there are other SCORE chapters. There's a SCORE chapter in Columbus. There's a SCORE chapter in Cincinnati, and several other Southern Ohio as well, and Mid-Ohio. But we're across Lake Erie, Cuyahoga, Lake, Lorraine, Geauga, Ashtabula, Huron, Erie counties. Those are all counties that we serve with our 90 volunteers. So our mentoring is both in person, depending on the specifics of the need of the client and the desire of the mentor to work with them face to face, and or a lot of, probably 90% of what we do, I think, is virtual right now still. It came about obviously as part of COVID, but it works well. It gives us the opportunity to call in a mentor, not necessarily based on geography, but based on expertise. And that's a good way to do that. So when you go online and you're looking for a mentor, the questions that you answer will tell us to a certain extent what expertise you need, and we'll try to match you up with that mentor. All of our services are free. We get a stipend from the federal government through the SBA. That helps us a little bit. We raise our own funding for many of the projects and the things that we're working on directly in communities. We've got a program called Community Navigator, where we're working with underserved communities, providing specific services for them to help them grow as well. And so everything we're doing right now is at no charge. So the one thing I wanted to point out to you is that we've got an event coming up in 13 days, if I'm not mistaken. It's the 12th of September, and it's called SCORE Cleveland Connect 2023. And it's really specific for SCORE clients. If you're a SCORE client, or if you want to be a SCORE client, you are more than welcome to join us for this particular event. And it's we're expecting somewhere between, I would say, 120 to almost 200 people there. Right now, I noticed that we're at about 130 registered. We'll be serving hors d'oeuvres, and we will have an open, it's not an open bar, a cash bar that you can buy drinks at as well. And then we'll have some programming during the course of the night. Many of our clients will have tables that they'll be setting up, and there'll be networking all the way through the evening. So if you have an opportunity and you can get to our website, and I'll show you how to get there real quick. This is just, we are live now, we're about to be live. This is our website. So if you get a chance, just go on here and hit, learn more and register. It'll tell you about it. There's a couple of videos about it, and there's an opportunity for you to sign up. If you've got a mentor, kindly put that mentor's name in where appropriate on the sign-up sheet. We'd like to have that. Last thing I want to show you is that There are so many resources on this website that are free and available for you, including business plan templates, various kinds of financial templates, and as important as anything, local and national workshops that have been recorded and are available for you. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to get out of our website, go back to my slide, and I mentioned that our services are free, and I think that is it. I'm going to stop sharing. Jim, why don't you start your share? And I'm going to introduce to you Jim Wittenberg. Jim is from Schooley Mitchell, which is a company that is, I think you're national, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we're across the US and Canada.
All right, good. And you'll see, I don't need to tell you too much. Jim will explain what he does, and you'll see it's an integral part of what he's presenting tonight. So without further ado, here is Jim.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate the introduction. Good evening, everybody. I'm excited to join you this evening to talk about the topic of cost optimization and best practices. So you know a little bit more of my background. I am a native Northeast Ohioan. I grew up on the west side of Avon Lake, moved down to Columbus in 2005. I worked a variety of jobs in manufacturing, from technical to managing service groups and worldwide service organizations. Before joining Schooley Mitchell, I managed 2 manufacturing companies within a division here in Columbus, making industrial power equipment. So I do have a vast background, mostly in manufacturing, but also on the service side, aftermarket services and field service and support. So I bring a lot of different aspects to the table. And this is something that through all my years, you know, cost optimization was always a topic to talk about and to see, you know, how you can improve the business, improve the bottom line. And we're going to get into some best practices today, give you an idea. Hopefully you take away, 2 or 3 tidbits of what you should be thinking about, some areas to consider, and then really just the best ways you should go about thinking about building a plan and then executing some strategies for cost savings. So let's go ahead and jump into it here. As long as I don't have technical difficulties. There we go. So you're going to notice a theme here. I'm an outdoorsman. I enjoy fishing, so it's going to be a nice, peaceful background. And I like starting off the slide because it's all about opportunity. It's about what lies beneath, because it can be significant and impactful. And one quote that I really go by from the Gartner Group is, a 5% reduction in operating costs has the same P&L impact as 30% increase in sales. Now, depending on your business and what you do, those percentages might vary a little bit, but at the heart of this, it's all about, if you're really purposeful and you look at the right items, you can really drive profitability in your business and cash flow for your business by focusing on your bottom line, in many cases more than focusing on the top line. And I think as business owners, and that's kind of the first knee-jerk reaction is, you want to grow the top line, you want to grow sales. This should make you think about, okay, I shouldn't forget about the bottom line. It has a big impact to my business because it takes some work to increase sales by 30%. So then you might ask yourself right off the bat, okay, what's a good time to look at operational costs? And it's almost like when you look at other situations in business or in life, it's mostly around a change, some kind of an event happened. It can be you're a new business owner, you started a business, you bought a business. It could be, hey, you just have growth strategies, right? You have some initiatives that you need support, money to support it. It could be for retaining people. When I talk to business owners, that's always on the top 2 of their challenges right now, and probably for the past 2 to 3 years, is finding and retaining people. So there's a cost to that. So it might be that you might need to fund that. It might be just to get leaner and meaner. How can we make our business more efficient, more profitable, or more cash flow? Give us some wiggle room, if you will, so we can work on some things and have more of a safety net as we operate our business. And then, just general business transition. It could be just within the family. It could be maybe a new partnership. When something like that happens and it's been in one person ownership or certain time ownership for a while, it's really great time to take a look at it, because it could be in a situation where things just haven't been looked at in a while. So it's a good opportunity to see what lies beneath. So the question of how does optimization help? Well, it's all about profitability. What kind of improvements can be made, what kind of strategies and initiatives could be for growing the business. So I mentioned in that quote, some focus to the bottom line has a big impact to your business. Well, use those funds so then you can really grow that top line sales. So it's a really a two-lane approach, if you will, working from the bottom that can feed money to initiatives to then also grow the top. So it's very dynamic when you look at cost savings and what you can do with it. And of course, it increases cash flow. So, right away, if you look at a situation, I'm just going to throw a number out there, say it's $5,000 a month to keep your lights on. Well, what if that number instead of 5,000 is 4,000 or maybe 3,500? If you work on some things and you go, wow, that's an impact in cash flow. What can you do with that cash flow today that you didn't have yesterday? That's what you got to think about on what kind of change it can make for your business. And then this is the main thing you have to have. You got to have a plan. A great analogy is, I know I've experienced it. Maybe some of you have, of your anger at your phone bill, your cable bill, like, hey, this is too much money. You spend time calling the provider, being on the phone, getting transferred, trying to get that, 10, 20% promo discount, whatever it might be, for 12 months. You feel really good about it, and then you forget about it. And then 2 years later, it's higher than it was when you first, did the savings, because life happens, you get busy. And then when you integrate a business onto that example, it's just exponential. The different things that can interrupt you and how you can get sidetracked. So it's really good to have a plan. You got to be strategic, and it's got to be long-term, and it shouldn't be one and done. Don't go for just a win of, 10%. You feel good today, and then you don't look at it for, 2-3 years. It's got to be purposeful. So the two steps I look at is short-term and long-term. There's some similar things for each of these. First thing on short-term is you should be questioning everything, even if things work. We're all human beings. Sometimes change might not be welcome, but when you look at a business and you're looking at costs, it's very important to question everything, even the things that are working. You might find out that, hey, what you're doing is good, and you keep going. You might also find out that, hey, what we're doing is good and we can keep using it, but now we're going to pay less than we did before. So it's that discovery process of, go ahead and look at everything. Don't just think because this is working that, and you feel it's a good price, that it's not a target for cost optimization. Great way to identify cost. Look at highest impact. Those are the things that are going to change the needle, but a lot of times highest impact might take more of your time, might be more an investment to get the cost savings. So also look at it from the other viewpoint of low-hanging fruit. What can I go and maybe do relatively quickly or utilize a service to get savings, so I can start saving, 2 or 3 months down the road, not, 6 to 12. You got to look at, can you do it in-house or should you outsource it? We're going to go through a whole scenario. So you help you identify, do I have the right people and the right tools in-house to do it, or is it better to outsource? We'll go through that. And again, short-term, you're going to have impact in the next 3 to 6 months. Long-term steps, it's more of having a system in place and different types of costs that might take longer to implement and actually realize the cost savings. So when I say system, it's about, okay, you found savings. It's 6 months later, you should be auditing those savings. You should be looking at it minimally every quarter, best if it's every month, And some cost categories like shipping, you should be looking at that every week if you have the volume for it, because pricing can change on you. So you got to have that plan on in the system of, okay, we got to go and, how can we get an audit system set up? Who's going to do that for us? What if an error is found? Hey, we have an audit in place. We have an error. Who's going to be mastering that project to then go to the vendor and get money back, get funds back, get the pricing back down to where it should be? Always have an annual pricing review. So even if you're looking at things once a quarter, you should really dig into it and go, hey, are we really optimized to what the industry is, to what other businesses might be spending on similar cost categories? Industry standards, technology, I'm sure everybody's aware how much technology changes. Many of us might not have even been on a Zoom platform 3 years ago. Here it's a staple today. There's a lot of technology changes and multiple different essential operating support services that you might be using for your business. So you always want to stay up to date on those. And is it something that might make things easier on you? Is it going to make maybe somebody's job more efficient, take less time? So you always want to look at that. And again, you question everything. You should be always looking at how can you get better. And saving costs is not necessarily getting cheaper, because you want the same type of service or better service than you have today. You want better technology. It just should be priced right for the services that you're using for your business. So then you identified, okay, have a plan. I'm going to put together what we can do. Well, where do I start? Well, again, impactful cost. Okay, what's high cost on your P&L and work down? Again, some of those might take a long time to do or execute or implement. So at the same time, you should also be looking at, okay, what's the low-hanging fruit? And kind of like work up and meet in the middle. Because again, low-hanging fruit you can implement maybe as quick as 3 months. So you want to be looking at those things so you can improve that cash flow right away. When I'm looking at the majority of costs, I put in two cost categories. You have fixed costs and you have a variable process cost. So fixed costs are ones that, okay, we're going to turn the lights on, we're going to operate your business. These are generally pretty stable costs that you have to do with your business. It's like communications. That's, the cost for Zoom, internet, phone, cellular. Yeah, there's some variability, but it's not necessarily tied to sales. Waste removal, uniforms, facility supplies, a lot of these things are more under that fixed cost umbrella. Human management, health benefits, leases, P&C insurance, property casualty, and there could be many more depending on type of business. And then I have another category or more a variable process cost. So variable, it's tied to your sales. So any type of freight shipping or small package shipping, fuel usage, if you have a service company or a trucking company, merchant services or credit card sales, even utilities. If you're a manufacturing company, you're a restaurant, if you're baking more things, making more food, manufacturing more and forging more parts, you're going to be using more energy. So those things are tied to what you're doing and can vary on you quite a bit. Inventory management, that's a very important piece. I think anybody that holds any type of inventory, this could be the most impactful cost item you can review and look at. Sometimes it might take some time to realize those savings, but it probably has the biggest impact that you could see for your business. Material costs, what are the costs coming in, especially if you're a manufacturing company, you're a service company, you're using materials, what does that look like? Lean manufacturing, anytime you can look at, I shouldn't just say for lean manufacturing, you can be a service company and go through a lean process. What could we be doing better? Could we map our calls better for our service technicians so they're not, looking like the old Atari game and they're going back and forth across a 20-30 mile area. Be more efficient, so you're utilizing their time better. Scrap materials. Scrap is just money sitting there that you got to find a way to try to get rid of. Get rid of the material so you can get some money, and it's not just money you can't use or touch or put in your business because it's scrap and not being used for anything. And again, you're going to have more different type of process cost and variable costs depending on your type of business. So then we come down to who should do it. So this is what I call an opportunity loss scenario. And I call it this because when you look at it to do it internally, and we're going to go through those steps, if you feel you can do it internally, one of the biggest parts of the equation that you look at is what's not going to get done because we elevated this task to the top. I'm sure you're all wearing multiple hats. You have people on your teams that are wearing multiple hats. I doubt this type of task or project is going to be the only one on their plate. Most likely it's number 8, 9, or 10. So, what's 1 through 7, which one of those aren't going to get done because this was added to it. Now, obviously, cost optimization is important, but that's why you have to go through this scenario. Do you have the resources to do it? Maybe you do, maybe you are in an opportunity where instead of having 10 projects, people have 2 or 3. Okay, yeah, we think we can manage it. Do you have the expertise? Meaning if you're looking at something like waste removal, or maybe it's communications, hey, do we have somebody on our staff that has that background? Maybe somebody worked, for a waste removal company for a number of years before joining your organization. Well, then they probably have a good idea what pricing should be and fees and what shouldn't be there and what you can do and the different options that are out there, because they were probably dealing with the competitors with whichever company they were with. So that's the expertise I'm talking about. They actually were in the industry. They know a lot of things about it. They bring a lot of value to the table. And then obviously time, that kind of goes with the people resources. Do they have time to do it? Is it going to be valuable to their time? And then the last piece is the return on investment. So that's looking at all those, because it's a cost to do this. You got people costs, you got time, any additional resources of other people get put into it. You're looking at the expertise, and then you're looking at that opportunity loss scenario. What might not get done if we make this a priority task? So that should be used in your calculation. And if it comes out positive, going, hey, we feel we can save, 10, 20%. We feel confident we can get this done in this many weeks. That's what you got to do. And you want to make it so it is worth your time and it is with the resources that you have. When you look at outsourcing it, that's going to an organization that they have the resources, the people, the time, the expertise. They know the industries, they know about price benchmarks, they know about looking at the cost you're spending on so they can identify opportunities for savings. They have all those things already that should be able to be utilized without taking away your time or your team's time and your team's resources. And the key point about outsourcing is if you find a company that can outsource for you for the task you're looking at, they should be able to run parallel to what other projects you're working on, meaning they shouldn't take a lot of your time or energy or resources. You should be able to get your projects done and they'll get the cost optimization projects done. And then that's a big win, when you're implementing savings, 2, 3 months, 6 months down the road, wherever that timeline might be. So that's what I mean by, looking at who should do it, the opportunity loss scenario, because those are your 2 main choices. And, making good business decisions on the best use of your people's time, your your resources, because obviously you got to still operate the business. Doing a project like this, you're not stopping your business. It's got to keep going. You got to keep, making product or providing that service and outreach to prospects and clients and customer service and all that. That stuff can't stop. So that's usually one of the value add pieces, like that type of peace of mind and saving on the time by outsourcing, because it can run parallel to everything else that you're doing with your business. And it's not pulling anything away from what you're trying to do. All right, so what I'd like to do now is we're going to look at some costs here. We're going to look at examples, case studies of some fixed costs and some variable and some process costs. So these two are case studies from Schooley Mitchell. One is on uniforms, linens, and facility supplies. And I like showing this just to show here's some examples of costs. You can relate it to your business. I try to do both some numbers and percentages so that way you can go, well, hey, you know your numbers. And then for the first example, here's a company that's saving almost 20% on the uniforms and linens. For this company, it was about, $2,300 a year in savings. You can put that 20% to what you might be spending on uniforms, linens, and facility supplies and come up with the number. So I'm trying to do this so you can do some evaluations on your own of seeing how impactful something like this could be. And this is probably more of that low-hanging fruit that I mentioned earlier, ways that you can identify what you're using today to optimize your costs to become more profitable and increase your cash flow. Case study with software as a service. This was an education client, one location. So they had 60 licenses. When the evaluation was done, they only needed 20. So they had access of licenses. Also found out that they weren't on a special rate program for being an education business. So then they were able to have 91% savings, which is pretty significant for any small company with that type of cost. Some more fixed costs, waste removal. So waste removal is an item that when I talk to a lot of companies, they don't always think there's an opportunity because, a lot of times you think, hey, there's only 1, 2, maybe 3 out there. There's not a lot of movement. But this is one of the ones that, even though there is some consolidation going on today, there's still new providers out there. There's still local companies out there, along with some national companies and some regional companies. So it's definitely worth looking into. This example was a manufacturing company. The cost was out of mind. They didn't really think of it as an opportunity to save money by utilizing price benchmarks, market expertise, what should be being paid for based on other clients for Schooley Mitchell, found enough savings to pay off an existing commercial loan in 18 months. So if anybody has a commercial loan out there for your business, it's one of the things you're always trying to think about is, okay, when can I pay that off so I don't have that cost every month? And what an impact to your business it would be by getting savings from waste removal to pay off a commercial loan 18 months early. So that's a really good example of some of the impact that you can create for your business. One with telecom, this was a multi-location retailer, needed to upgrade communications. They had, copper lines throughout all their facilities, some older technology, was able to provide a solution to upgrade to voice over IP. So now that gave them flexibilities where, one location can basically dial an extension number to get another location, and just gave them all the flexibility in the world that they didn't have before. Created savings of $2,600 a month and savings of over $93,000 over 3 years. So when you look at that, obviously they did have a decent sized spend, but here's a situation where upgrading technology, getting a better platform, a better solution, really getting more options from a communication standpoint that they didn't have previously, really dramatically changed their business from an efficiency standpoint and a technology standpoint, but also drove for really impactful savings to the business. Now we're going to look at some variable costs. So one variable cost you may have is merchant services or credit card sales. This is an example of a multi-location medical office. They had an integrated system. So that means the transactions had to go through the system that they utilize for their patients. It was an opportunity to find an integrated partner for that software, provide 50% savings, which is pretty significant. And over a 2-year period, Now, this is just for credit card transactions. The fees associated with credit card transactions was a savings of over $100,000 over those 2-year period. They're in a new facility now, and they use some of those funds to help some of the savings to help fund that expansion, which is pretty exciting. Fuel case study. So this is one with the trucking distribution company. And this is really an example of, a few pennies can turn into, thousands of dollars. So they did have an existing fleet card program. By getting them on a more appropriate fleet card program for the gas stations they were utilizing, that also gave them some technology so they could locate those gas stations easier to get the bigger discounts. Savings of 6 cents per gallon basically equated to $100,000 a year in annual savings. Now, this client did have a big spend, but I like putting it in here because even if you do have fuel costs, it is something very important to look at, especially if you're just doing it via credit card transaction. There's ways out there that you can do it to start saving money, and pennies turns into dollars, that turns into hundreds, and can turn into thousands. So it's something that you definitely have to look at. If fuel is one of those cost centers for you. So more variable costs, small package shipping. Now this is one multi-location retailer. They weren't happy with the service. They really thought they were great on savings. That wasn't the pain point. The pain point was service. Their local rep changed all the time. Couldn't solve any problems that they had. So going in there, the main action item was, okay, well, we got to solve that problem because the customer service is a pain point. If we can solve that, how can we also save them some money at the same time? So it was a solution for this provider to change shipping companies, have a dedicated rep that was in the shipping companies, one of their offices, corporate offices. So they always had a link to support. It wasn't dependent on somebody local. So that solved the customer service problem, solved the pricing problem, saving money, 25% on average, over $100,000 savings over 3 years. They used those funds over the years to do some upgrades to their locations. Case study with less than truckload. For shipping, this was a manufacturing company. They were just looking for additional ways to save. Here's a situation where they go, well, we don't know, we're not sure where we can save it, but can you find an opportunity to save some money? Was able to find an opportunity, staying with the current shipping provider that they had, just was able to negotiate a better rate per their shipping needs, savings of nearly 19%. Projection of $80,000 in savings over the 3 years. This is an incremental savings to, okay, we've done some stuff on our own. What else can you help us with? And this is a great example of getting some of those additional dollar savings to your bottom line by engaging in going through an ongoing process. Now I'm going to be looking at some process costs. So these case studies I used from a couple people that I partner with. The inventory one is from Mike Ryan with the M. Ryan Group. This was a manufacturing company. They were buying to forecast. Again, here we go. I mentioned earlier, if you have inventory, this is one of the biggest areas where you can find dollars for your business. And the inventory kept growing because they were buying to forecast, not to their needs. So they realigned procurement to actual demand. And then within 9 months, $6.93 million of cash that they're saving because they didn't have items sitting in inventory. Now, many on here might not be in a business that's going to be that size of inventory. So take the 41%, just take that around that percentage, 35, 40%. If you have inventory, you can make some improvements to that inventory to reduce it, but still have a good reactionary business to fit your sales and your customer needs. What kind of impact to the bottom line would that have? Because inventory equals cash. Lean ops. This was with Nakota with Lean Works. So we had a manufacturing company. They had some operational issues, delivery schedules, processes. He did mapped operations, did a 5S exercise. And this was a company, the next bullet point, there's reclaimed footage to triple the capacity. They thought they might have had to increase their square footage in order to be more efficient. And it was the other way around. They had to change their processes to be more efficient, which then created additional capacity. Mind shift of the team out on the production floor that, hey, what we're making here is for the client. And then they went through and this stuff was all implemented from $12 million in sales to over 20, which is quite impactful. Now, I like bringing this up because, yes, this is a sales side example, but there's inherent operational savings by doing this, by going through this exercise. Now, both of these, like the inventory was 9 months, the lean ops was close to the same amount of time, 9 months to a year. These take time. That's why a lot of process costs might be bigger items, might be the higher items, higher impact on that P&L, but they're going to take longer. So that's why you got to have that two-leg approach of, hey, we got to look at this, but you also got to go to the low-hanging fruit to see what you can grab and implement and start realizing some of that savings and cash flow. I'm just going to touch real quickly on insurance cost. I'm by no means an expert on insurance, but this is usually some kind of impact for business. Everybody should be having property casualty insurance, should be right-sized. If you ever need to have a claim, you want it to be right. You don't want to be, shorted on being able to cover the expenses because something happened. And then obviously on the healthcare HR side, if that's a factor for you, the health benefits, people management, compliance, payroll, all those things are important items to take a look at. Okay, I'm going to go quickly through the what if factor. Let's add up some of the numbers we were looking at. You have some variable costs here that we took a look at: LTL, shipping, merchant, fuel. And these examples, knowing it won't always line up this way, but the examples I gave you was savings of $200,000 annually to implement these strategies. And these are definitely more intricate savings opportunities for your business. Some of the fixed cost, again, facility supplies, software as a service, waste removal, telecom, over $60,000 in savings. If I would throw some of the shipping in here, that would be more of the $85,000 range. Again, low-hanging fruit. These are things that you can look at relatively quickly. It's not something that's usually done in a week or two. It's going to take time to dig into the cost, identify the proper providers, go through the whole process of, what's going to work for me and get the right solution. But again, it shouldn't take 9 months, 12 months. These are more quick turn, low-hanging fruit style implementations you can do. Then quickly going over the process cost, inventory cost impact. Again, think about the percentage, 41%. Improvement on inventory equals cash. Lean process, sales impact. And there's an inherent operational cost reduction in with that. Growth in sales. And these are very strategic. So they're very pointed. They're going to take time. You got to have, do it the right way, get right experts involved, but can be very impactful for your business and needs to be something you look at. Okay, so when you look at cost optimization, here I am. There's I wish my fishing box was only that size. I probably got, I don't want to say how many fishing boxes I have. Way more than that. And, the rooster tail, I like using this analogy because, I have a whole bunch of fishing boxes and lure trays, and it's all about getting the right lure for the situation that you're in, for the cost category you're looking at, for your business, for your industry, and throwing it out there and making it purposeful and getting savings. And, that's exactly what I do for fishing. You do the same thing. Pick the right lure for the right situation, the right environment for the type of fish you're going after. Really equates to cost optimization. You want to do it the right way and with the right tools so it can be impactful. It needs to be impactful and beneficial to your business. So I just want to go over just a quick overview so you know a little bit more about Schooley Mitchell and the expertise I have in cost optimization. Some of it was from my previous experience, and then it's what I'm doing today. So I've been doing this for 6 years. We focus with companies. Our whole purpose is, hey, we're going to create savings for you in key areas. Those savings are going to turn into cash flow and profitability. And it's all about service. It's all about focusing on our clients. How can we help? How can we manage these costs for you long term so you're maximizing your savings? And our whole model was based upon a percentage of savings, no out-of-pocket fees. And that way, that's that true outsource solution I talked about of, hey, we're running in parallel with you. We're not going to interfere with your business. We're going to get some stuff done. And the ROI is even higher because our fees is based on a percentage of savings, nothing out of pocket for you or our clients. So I am at the end of my presentation. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you found it beneficial. And Bob, I'll turn it over to you to see if there's any questions that have arisen since I started.
Yeah, there were two. I answered both of those just directly into the chat, but one question was, and this is not for you, it's just a score question. Will they have an opportunity to have these slides? Jim, if you are okay with that, if you send me your slides, I'll make sure that people get them. We'll also send you a recording of this session. So you have the recording and the slides.
Okay.
And within the next day or two, you should receive those.
Yeah, I'll be happy to share the slide set.
Perfect. Yeah. And this recording will also, as I said, it'll be sent to you. It'll be on our website, and we've got a YouTube page. It should be up there as well within the next couple of days. Any questions that anybody wants to drop into the chat or into the Q&A? I'll monitor these for a minute, and then we should be able to just call it a night. Anything? Well, I am not seeing anything. So I would say thank you all for joining us tonight. Hopefully you got something good out of this. Again, the slides and recordings will be sent out to you. Look for those, and look forward to seeing you. If not at our networking event, at least hopefully you guys will join some more workshops going on over the next months, weeks, years, whatever. So thanks for joining us. You're welcome, Keith. Thanks for coming tonight. Look forward to seeing you again. Take care, everybody.